So I'm here today with a friend of mine and my former boss, Sergeant Quentin Kingham. He is the commercial vehicle enforcement sergeant for the Amarillo area. And I'll turn it over to him and let him introduce himself and tell a little bit about himself.
Yes, sir. My name is Quentin Kingham, and as Kirby explained, I'm the sergeant for commercial vehicle enforcement here out of the Texas Panhandle. We have 14 counties we cover. I've been with the Texas Department of Public Safety for about 20 years. I've been on the commercial vehicle enforcement side since 2013 and working with the trucks and everything like that. The rest of the time I spent in highway patrol learning the areas that we're covered here. Prior to being with DPS, graduated high school and joined the military. Then after the military, joined DPS and been with this department since 2003.
Very good. Well, today our topic is going to be about what do troopers look for when they're out patrolling and they're looking for the next truck that they're going to inspect.
One of the first things we look for is obviously violation of state laws such as speeding or seat belts or different things like that. But then as far as deciding a truck that we might want to look at is things that should be caught on a pre-trip inspection when the driver does his initial walk around every morning like they're required to. So if we see things like headlights, side markers, different things that you can catch on a pre-trip, that tells us that if the driver's not doing what he's supposed to do before he gets on the road, what else are we going to find on those trucks when we get them stopped? Those are some of the first issues we look at. But other things that we do that do draw our attention to it is with the ELDs. There's a lot of people that don't like using the ELDs, so they have older trucks. If we see early 2000s or older trucks they're just kind of being pieced together to make sure that they can still drive up and down the road. Sometimes the guys do very good with working on the older equipment and keep those things running like they're brand new and keep it up to par. And other times they buy those older trucks so they don't have to run the ELDs and just kind of patch it together until it finally breaks where they can't drive it anymore.
Yeah. One of the things that I used to look for, speaking of older equipment, especially on 287 and I-40, I would look for those older trailers that had been bought by a bigger company, and you could see the company name faded on the trailer. And so now you got a second company that bought that trailer, and now they're running it, and they're liable to have a brand new tractor pulling it, and the tractor be fine, but it goes back to the maintenance and care of that equipment. Did they go back in there and replace all the brakes, the drums, and the leaf springs, stuff like that, or they just throw it back on the road and start running it? So I always would stop those and take a look at that just to make sure they had done the proper maintenance on
it. Yes, sir. And like you're saying, it's keeping those trucks up to par. It's expensive, unfortunately, for the companies, but that old adage is you have to spend money to make money. So if they're keeping everything up to par good, if we see companies that we know are doing a good job and are doing keeping all their equipment up, we're liable, if we see passing them on the road, be like, okay, they're probably good, and just kind of do a quick scan and move on to the next truck that's behind them.
Yeah.
If it's a company we don't know or we stopped in the past that has a whole bunch of violations, that will draw our attention more on companies that we know.
That's a very good point, because that's one of my questions I was going to ask you, as the importance of the reputation, if you will, the past history of a trucking company, whether they have a maintenance program and they have a solid maintenance program, whether they take care of their equipment, and they also take care of their drivers. They give them the things that they need in the time that they need to do the job safely but correctly. And what things have you seen between good companies and bad companies? What is some of the things that makes a difference between a company that's being accountable and responsible and a company that is not?
For the most part, it's the companies such as what y'all's are doing right now, where it kind of becomes like a family for them. So they treat their drivers exactly how they would treat another family member. So these drivers don't have problems reaching out to the company saying, "Hey, this isn't working right," or "I'm having problems with this," trying to fix it. So if we see those when we talk with the drivers on the roadside, we can always tell who has good communication with their companies, because they will tell us, "But hey, we're being told this by our safety guy that we need to do things this way," and it versus somebody who goes, "I don't know, I was just told to drive the truck," and doesn't have any kind of problem, anything like that. So as we deal with the hazmat, always seems to be one that is easier to deal with because there are so many more regulations that they fall under. So I hate to use this term, but higher trained, because you have to go to certain classes to understand on what you're doing and everything with it. So our hazmat haulers are usually the ones that we kind of use to look at for what is correct. So we'll have kind of like a template to work off of, and they treat their driver with a lot more respect and everything.
Very good, very good. What speaking of hazmat, what things when you see a hazmat load, or you're looking to do a hazmat inspection, because some people may not know that troopers are required by the Federal Motor Carrier that to get a certain amount of hazmat inspections every year to keep their certification. So it's required. It is a quota that the feds put on the troopers to keep their certification. But when you're looking for a vehicle that has hazmat and you're just not looking to get a hazmat inspection to satisfy a quota, you're actually looking for hazmat violations. What are the things that you look for on a hazmat truck that you're looking for to make sure they're got everything in order and everything's legit?
For us, the it all starts with the shipping papers. When we do decide to stop a commercial vehicle that's hauling hazmat, whether it be through cargo tanks or non-bulk, uh, everything starts from those shipping papers, because that's the way that the company communicates to us. This is what we're hauling. This is how we're falling underneath the FedRegs, and this is how we're staying in compliance with the federal regulations in the hazmat side. Once we get those shipping papers and see how they're prepared and everything like that, we talk with the driver and see what they're hauling, where they're coming from, where they're going to, and use those shipping papers to see what we need to inspect on each truck. With the shipping papers, they have to be kept in a certain manner and in a certain locations on the truck. So for ours, right as soon as we ask for the shipping papers, those are two violations we're looking for. If they're within the reach of the driver and can be seen by the officer, as are required in Chapter 172-200 for the shipping papers and the regulations. So we start building off of that, and then once we get the shipping papers and verify that the all the information is correct, then we move back to the what's being hauled, whether it be a cargo tank or non-bulk, and then we continue with the cargo tank.
So when you see one go down the road and you say, "Oh, that's hazmat," what are you looking on the outside of the truck to make sure that they're required to have? What are you looking for on the trailer or on the truck on the outside?
The biggest thing is the placards or labeling, depending on what type of products being hauled and what the quantities and everything like that. Because making sure that all of them match, that it's the correct placards, that they have them on all four sides as required, or if they're using labeling or whatever product they're looking for, we're trying to make sure that those things match. Because as you drive down the road with the miles that the trucking companies put on these trucks, when whether it be outside or somebody just mess with things at truck stops when you have to stop to get fuel or anything like that. Vandalism, we're making sure that all those things are adhered to, because things do happen.
Right. One of the things with our company is the challenge. We're oil field, so we're going down rough lease roads and dirt roads, And so we're just not driving on smooth blacktop all the time. We're driving down roads that, that are rough and have potholes and different things like that. So that is a challenge for our mechanics and our drivers to stay on top of that, because things do happen. Placards fall off. They get faded and stuff like that. And that's one of the things that we try to train our drivers to do, to look for them pre-trip. And that's one of the things that I look for when I'm out there doing inspections on our trucks as well. That's a very good point. Let let's shift gears for a second and let's talk about weight. What do you look for when you're looking for a possible weight violation? You see a truck go down the road, what are some of the key points that you're looking at to see if that truck could possibly be overweight?
Some of the things we look at, which people that drive in the industry understand, the trucks act different when they have the weight on there. If they're loaded heavier on the back end, the trailer acts different on the truck and everything like that. But the biggest key for us would be the way the tires look. If you have a low tire, it will obviously be very accented by the extra weight added on there on each tire, depending on what it is. So if the tires are squatted down, where they're bulged out and it almost look like they're about the middle, that's things we look at. But if it's not overweight, it could lead to other violations as well. But that's the first thing, saying, hey, something's heavy on those axles, whether it be the drives, the steer, or even on the trailer.
Right. Very good. Yeah, that's one thing that I always look for is the squatty tires. That tells you that A, either they're overweight, or B, they're low in air, one of the two. So very good. Quentin, is there anything else that you can think of as a whole that draws your attention to a truck that's going down the road? Say, hey, I need to check this truck out. I need to check this truck and trailer out, or I need to check this driver. What other behaviors or visual signs do you go by that grabs your attention when you're out there patrolling?
Something that didn't cover very much, but you did with all the troopers having to keep their basic certification. So we have to do so many cargo tank inspections, so many non-bulk inspections, and so many just level ones. So a lot of these times, if we're needing certain trucks for different training to keep our certifications to stay compliant, we will key off on those. A lot of the anything that hauls hazmat, they usually know at the beginning of the year, starting in January, they get stopped a whole lot more because all the troopers are working on their certification. But just it's mainly equipment is what we're looking at on there, because it just goes in different ways with the industry. Right now, window tint on the trucks is something that's real big, and we look at that because that's very easy for us to see, since you're not allowed to have anything on the side windows or front window that goes below 70%. So as soon as we see, excuse me, the darker window tint, then we know we're stopping that vehicle. But that's just something right now that's a trend because they reworded 39360 to where it sounds a little bit different. Well, the drivers, what we're seeing is they're reading the first section on the material that you can put on the glass, and then stopping and not reading all the rest of the section on there. But it's just little things like that we see that are either add-ons or just equipment's our biggest key, because most people that have been doing it for a long time can look at a truck and be like, that's probably what I need to look at, just because the way the hood, excuse me, the hood latches are, or things broken. Like you said earlier, the different company names on there. Is this a third or fourth person owning this truck? How's it being kept up? Different things. Because if it's a brand new truck and a brand new trailer, probably not going to get stopped as much by us, because if it's less than 2 years old, it just hasn't had the use that comes with the hauling cross country or even intrastate on these roads like what y'all go on to and everything. So the newer trucks don't get much just because they should be up to par because they're brand new.
Yeah. That makes sense. And it goes back to also, if you see a nice clean truck, even though if it's an older truck, but it's nice and clean and it looks well kept, you're less likely to pull that truck over for an inspection, because you're thinking, hey, if they took the time it's an older truck and they're still taking care of it and they're still keeping it clean and they look like they care about their equipment, well, you're less likely to pull that truck over. You're going to go maybe down the road and look for one that someone is not taking care of, that is obvious that it's dirty, it's clean, it looks like it has a lot of missing or broken parts, and so that's the one that's going to draw your attention.
Yes, sir. And that, to steal a phrase from the regulation books, is workmanlike manner. If somebody's keep trying to make it look professional and doing their best, that's not going to draw our attention to somebody who's just throwing it together and doesn't look like they know what they're doing. It'd be like me trying to do any kind of weld. Everybody be able to look at that weld and say, that's somebody who doesn't know what they're doing. So those are things that really catch our attention, is just how things are taken care of, that we can see just driving down the road. And a lot of these times before we stop a truck, if we have the opportunity in the room, we'll get up beside the truck and kind of give it a quick scan within our patrol cars. Because if we see something initially, we're up there and be like, okay, no, I didn't see that right. We'll move on to the next trucks, because we understand that the industry, if they're not moving, they're not making money. So we try and work with them, just like the companies, the drivers, when we stop them, if they work with us, it just speeds everything up. And we always want the drivers to know that if they have questions roadside, please ask us. We'd rather talk to them on roadside in a station than out at a crash, something like that. Because all my troopers, including myself, we have the out of service criteria and the reg books in our patrol cars. So if a question comes up, even during an inspection, we're more than happy to open it up and show, okay, this is where we find this violation, this is where we see it, and make sure that we're on the page in that. Because most of us that are in the commercial vehicle side, that's why we enjoy the commercial vehicle side more, because y'all have the same playbook per se that we do. We're all getting the same information. Other than chapter 395 with the logbooks, there's not a whole lot of interpretation on those other ones. It says you will do it this way, so it's easier for us to be on the same page, work with the drivers, so it's easier to deal with. In closing, is it's good when companies such as yours is doing what they're doing, reaching out to us, because with our department, we're more than willing to come to any company's yard that's up here. And if they're not up here, I'll put you in contact with someone close by, because we'd rather do those talks there, working with the companies, having the foresight to do this in advance, to try and set up videos so you don't have to take your drivers off the road as much. We appreciate doing that with the companies, working with the companies, because we can get on the same playing field with everything. So really enjoy the companies that do like what yours is doing right now, where they take the time and get in contact with us, set these meetings up, so that way we can make sure we're on the same page with everything. And it makes our job easier, and it hopefully helps you out as much as it helps us out, because it's ever evolving. And when y'all educate us just as much as we try and educate y'all.
Well, that's exactly right, Quentin. It's a team effort, because if we're both not working together, we're not getting it done properly. It's not happening. And with both of us, industry and law enforcement, working together, then it's going to be a success. So let me say this one more thing. Let me ask this one more thing. What do you what does the Commercial Vehicle Enforcement Service and you as a CVE sergeant look for from a trucking company that's out there, got trucks on the road? What do you want them to do? What is the main thing you want this company to do to accomplish this goal of being safe?
Just be transparent with us, and if y'all be clear what you're wanting from us when companies contact us to do safety talks, whatever, just tell us exactly what you want us to go over, and we'll be transparent with y'all back, saying this is a way that our department, the policies is set out, or the laws, how our department interprets those. So just being transparent and working with this, because as you're saying, being the team part of it, it only works if we're both communicating and not trying to keep something or play any type of games with anybody. Just being transparent with it, so that way we're clear on everything, so that way nothing's misinterpreted. Anything I tell y'all is misinterpreted, and somebody gets in a bind on something that we're trying to work out.
Very good. Well, I appreciate your time, Sergeant Kingham, and we'll be having some more videos about some different things. Later, we'll cover roadside inspection, what troopers look at during a level 2 walk around inspection. We'll even talk about the things that drivers need to look for while they open the hood to check their oil and stuff like that. Different things that are there they need to inspect, and then we'll talk about hazmat, what the drivers need to know about the HM part of their job if they haul hazmat, the things that they're required to do and need to know. And also we'll cover some important regulations and best practices that the drivers need to be aware of. And that'll do it for this podcast. And I appreciate your time, and I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you.
Thank you.